thrilled about this idea. Americans, Polynesians coming together to revive the... Whatever journey you're on in life, I just want you to know that the early European mapping of Oceania, especially the tripartite division into Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia, was fraught with essentialist, racist, and social evolutionary elements. For centuries, Melanesia and Melanesians were generally represented in negative and derogatory ways in scholarly and popular discourses. That perspective has, to some extent, been internalized by Pacific Islanders, including Melanesians. It has also influenced contemporary representations of and relationships with Melanesia and Melanesians. That's what Tarsisius Kabutalaka wrote in his 2015 publication. He was the director for the Center of Pacific Island Studies at the University of Hawaii. If we look at the map of the Pacific Ocean, we'll find this region of islands that make up what is known in geography as Oceania. So when I say Oceania, I'm referring to this region of islands in the Pacific Ocean, the Pacific Islands. The definition of Oceania varies from source to source, but it has been traditionally comprised of three major regions in the Pacific: Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia. Now, where did the names for these Pacific regions originally come from? These names were actually imposed by the Europeans. They carry a history of racism and flawed thinking about human civilization. In 1756, French scholar Charles de Bossé coined the term Polynesia, Poly being the Greek word for many, and Nesia being the Greek word for islands. He did this to define the islands within this region of the Pacific Ocean. He pushed a racial theory that categorized Pacific Islanders into two separate races, the yellow race and the black race. According to this flawed racial theory, the yellow race had a lighter skin complexion than the black race. The yellow race was more civilized, and the black race was uncivilized and primitive. Sometime in 1831, the terms Micronesia and Melanesia were presented by other French scholars. So they divided Polynesia into three parts. They said this part is Micronesia, this part is Melanesia, and the rest is Polynesia. And this only continued the racist thinking that was pushed by European scholars. The citizens of Oceania never referred to themselves as Polynesians or Micronesians or Melanesians. The European scholars invented these names and applied them to the Pacific Islands based on racist ideology, and Melanesians were placed in a bad light as they were regarded as the uncivilized part of Oceania. In more contemporary times, though, the citizens of these Pacific Islands have come to embrace these names with a strong sense of pride. They've made these names their own as a rich representation of their culture, values, and unity. Tarsisius Kabutalaka concludes his publication with these excerpts. Since the 1970s, Melanesians have appropriated the term Melanesia and used it for self-identification, turning it from a derogatory term to a positive one, a source of pride and self-identification. They have appropriated a colonial concept and deployed it as an instrument of empowerment. Melanesians, armed with diverse and rich cultures, used the term Melanesia to establish their place in Oceania and beyond, creating new and empowering images. Melanesians are asserting their place in the sun in Oceania. When I was making this documentary, I was hardly familiar with the history of Pacific culture, of Oceania, or any of these terms, but my research has taught me so much, and going into this film, giving it the historical context, brings such deeper meaning to a culturally spirited film like Moana. Moana is so decorated with Pacific Island culture that in international markets, like Italy, the film is actually titled Oceania. So to illustrate the geography of Oceania, here we have those three primary regions: Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. Though, according to Disney director John Musker, he found during his visits to the Pacific Islands that many Pacific Islanders instead regard the three regions as one united blue continent called Oceania. So where in Oceania does Moana live? Where is the island of Motunui? Sorry, it's a fictional island. Fortunately for us, however, the Disney team took the creative liberty to draw out Moana's journey across the Pacific. This map is featured in the book The Art of Moana and was drawn out by the Disney production team. Now let's take a look and reconcile the Moana map with our own real-life map of the Pacific Islands. Sometimes you'll hear the phrase, the Polynesian Triangle, used to describe the region of Polynesia. Within the Polynesian Triangle, you'll find Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, and the Society Islands, all real-life islands that you can visit today. Pay close attention to the location of these islands because they show us just where Motunui is and where Moana's journey took place. Let's take a look again at the Moana map. Again, you'll see Samoa, Fiji, and Tonga. Motunui is located just east of Tonga. You can see Moana's journey drawn out in the red line as she sails east to Taka. Taka, as you know, is actually Te Fiti, the mother island. And while Te Fiti is a fictional island, it's actually based off the real-world island of Tahiti, one of the Society Islands. And Te Fiti's location in the Moana map is placed right where the real-life Tahiti sits today. So while Motunui and Te Fiti are fictional islands, there's some impressive geographical accuracy that was well thought out by the Disney team. In the film's pre-production, the Disney team actually visited these islands for their research. They traveled to Fiji, Samoa, New Zealand, and Hawaii. So all of the Icelandic features seen in Moana are accurate as well. The mountains, the valley, the river flow, the plants, the sea life, it's all an accurately depicted ecosphere that you'd find in the Pacific Islands. The name Moana has Maori and Hawaiian origins, and if you don't already know, the Maori are the indigenous Polynesian people of mainland New Zealand. In Samoan language, the term Lanu Moana translates to blue-colored, and the meaning of Moana across Pacific culture is ocean. Moana has a gift that allows her to commune with the water. We can see it in the film's first act when Moana is first drawn to the ocean as a toddler. She's presented with a choice in this scene. She can reach for the shell, or she can help the baby turtle cross into the ocean, because there's predators trying to hunt the turtle. Its life is in danger. Many people see this as some kind of test, as if the ocean is somehow testing Moana to see if she's worthy enough to deliver Te Fiti's heart back home. I don't think this is a test though. I don't think the ocean needs to test Moana. I think the ocean had already chosen Moana from birth because the ocean felt the courage and the goodness of her heart. And I also don't think Moana's true gift is in her communion with the ocean. No, I think Moana's true gift is in her deep sense of empathy. I just want to define empathy for a moment. It's the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. When you see somebody who's sad or hurting and it makes you sad, that's empathy, and it's a gift to be able to do that. To feel somebody else's emotions and to understand those emotions, that's a gift. It's a gift so much more profound than being able to communicate with the ocean. Co-director for the film Don Hall wrote in his notes, Moana's unique ability to empathize, even as a toddler, is why the ocean chooses her for this journey that will heal the rift with nature caused by Maui and reclaim her people's cultural identity. So the ocean already knows that Moana is, I don't want to use the word worthy. The ocean knows that Moana is emotionally capable of this journey. There's no need to test her. The ocean was already trying to draw Moana towards her calling by presenting her with the first shell. Moana choosing instead to help the baby turtle just shows the audience what the ocean already knows, that Moana carries a profound sense of empathy, even as a toddler, even for a baby turtle. Moana was going to find her way to the ocean whether that turtle was there or not, because of the inner force within her heart gravitating her towards her calling, towards her life's task. But because Moana delivered the baby turtle to the ocean was pleased. The ocean was happy. It didn't love Moana any greater than it already did. The ocean already loves Moana, fully and wholly, but it was happy that Moana helped the baby turtle. How exactly do I know the ocean was happy? Well, I'm not just guessing here. The visual development artist from Disney had this idea that the ocean could express emotion through shapes, ripples, and wave patterns. She writes in her notes, I grouped waves into emotions and tried to find similarities that spoke to everyone. So when the ocean is happy, It's very round and broad, with maybe a playful spray at the tips. And we can see the ocean expressing these emotions throughout the entire film. I know the ocean has a feeling of happiness in this scene because of how the water pattern is expressed. It's round and broad, with a playful spray at the tips, just as artistically intended to be. And perhaps for the first time in her life, Moana sees inside the vast beauty of the ocean. She sees the family that she reunited, the baby turtle and its mother. What is so intense about this scene, and I know it's a calm scene of peace and serenity, but it's the symbolism and the foreshadowing that I find so emotionally captivating. By delivering the baby turtle to the ocean, Moana reunited a family, the baby turtle and its mother, and by delivering the Sacred Heart of Te Fiti back home, Moana is going to reunite her own family. Foreshadowing at its finest. In Maori culture, the term paunamu refers to a class of green stones that are found only in Aotearoa, which is the South Island of mainland New Zealand. It's only poetic that green symbolizes life. Moana sees the heart of Te Fiti being presented to her for the first time by the ocean. The spiral pattern resembles the koru pendant from Maori culture. The koru symbol represents harmony and eternal movement. The spiral shape can be symbolic of a portal, perhaps a portal to a new journey, which is what Moana is faced with in her life, a new journey for her and her village. We can see in the film's opening musical number, Where You Are, we see how settled in the village is on Motunui, and Chief Tui takes great pride in that. He assures Moana that their island is their home, their traditions belong here, not out there in the ocean, and they have everything they need right here on Motunui. You know, their family, their village, their rituals, their natural resources, it's all here. Later in the musical number, we see Moana has grown into a teenager. She's still drawn to the ocean, but her father, Chief Tui, convinces her that she needs to stay on the island to lead her village into the future. And for a moment, we see Moana embrace this role. Keep in mind, at this point in the film, Moana has no rationale for going off into the ocean. Yes, she's drawn to it naturally, but there's no rationale, there's no urgency to venture off into the ocean. Moana cares deeply about her family, about the citizens of Motunui, so it's not like she wants to sail off because she's miserable and can't stand her family. No, that's not the case at all. Moana loves her family, which is why it's so easy for her to embrace this role that her father has given her, the role of being the future chief of the village. At this point in the film, what Chief Tui is saying is all true. The village is thriving economically and culturally. They really do have everything they need right there on the island for a society to sustain itself. So in that regard, Moana has every reason to stay on the island and accept her role. She is sincerely trying to embrace this role. She wants to make her father proud. She wants to make her village proud. When she first learns of the infested coconuts, she quickly finds a simple solution to replant them in a more fertile area. But it's when she learns of the fish shortage that we see her really trying to stick to her role that her father has given her. Her immediate reaction isn't to venture off into the ocean. No, she's trying here. She offers 3 possible solutions to the fish shortage. We'll rotate the fishing grounds, she says. We'll fish on the far side of the island, the windward side. It's clear Moana wants to make things work right here on Motunui. But she learns that none of these solutions are going to work because the fishermen have already tried them. It's then that her intuition starts pulling her towards the ocean again. Moana's first attempt to sail the blue waters of the Pacific Ocean ends up failing. The ocean seems to be working against her, but why? I thought the ocean was Moana's companion. I thought it wanted her to venture off into the open waters, so why did it wreck her boat in this scene? Moana wasn't ready. She still doesn't know the story of her ancestors. She doesn't have a clear mission. She still doesn't have the Sacred Heart of Te Fiti, and she doesn't know who she's meant to be, until Gramatala shows her that they descended from voyagers.
Mr. Speaker, before there was GPS, before there were compasses, the people of the Pacific navigated over thousands of miles of open ocean, including Hawaii and Samoa, Tahiti, New Zealand, and hundreds of tiny islands and atolls in between. Yet in our lifetime, this ancient knowledge of navigation was all but lost, until one man on the island of Satawa, who may have been the sole remaining practitioner, made it his mission to spread the art of navigation once again from island to island and keep it alive. Maopialok succeeded in preserving thousands of years of accumulated understanding of how to sail using the stars and the rhythm, taste, and temperature of the oceans. He trained others to distinguish each region of the sea by the life it harbors, when to the untrained eye this ocean reaches him uniform, even empty of life. He awakened pride in the unimaginable competence and courage of our ancestors who over the course of so many generations populated the Pacific. Maopialok died on his home island of Satawa the other day. As a fellow Pacific Islander, I thank him for all he gave us. I wish him well on his final knowledge. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The story of the Hokulea is such a relevant story that I studied in my research for Moana Reimagined. There's strong parallels of cultural revival, of courage, keeping the art of navigation alive, listening to your inner voice. Modern technology eliminated any need or desire for ancient navigation methods. And while motorized ships and GPS do make navigation more efficient, the ancient methods of navigation, celestial navigation, are embedded in Pacific Island culture.
So I asked Nainoa Thompson how his ancestors were able to navigate so well by the stars, right? So let's check it out.
So you guys must have known the stars really well. And I mean, I use my tools to remind me where they rise and set and where to expect them. But if you don't have the tools, then it's in you somehow. And then you navigate with them. So how do you do that?
Okay. I mean, one issue is to even be able to identify and pick out stars and memorize that that's a specific star. It's identification.
Right, because a star isolated is nothing. There's a context,
right,
a pattern that you have to, so pattern recognition matters.
Right.
Yeah.
But because you can find the star in the sky, it doesn't tell you anything about navigation. You need to know primarily where it rises and sets.
Okay.
And so there is this mental construct called the star compass.
Star compass, I like that.
It's as if you're a satellite looking down at the ocean's horizon, and there's a canoe in the center of this big circle. And in the circle is that circle, that edge.
So I got the circle. All right, here we go.
Celestial navigation was for the most part a forgotten tradition. There was just no longer any interest in it once technology changed the way that we sail the oceans. So in 1975, a small team of researchers started a project that would revive ancient navigation methods. This would become known as the Hokulea Expedition. It was started up by Herb Kawanui Kane, Dr. Ben Finney, and of course, Nainoa Thompson. Their idea was to make a voyage using only traditional methods, so no fuel engines, no motors, no compasses. They wanted to build a historically accurate double-hulled canoe and sail it from Hawaii to Tahiti. The two motivations behind this expedition were for scientific research as well as cultural revival. So the three men assembled their team and formed the Polynesian Voyaging Society. Construction on the boat commenced and it was named the Hokulea. This name was derived from the star Arcturus. The Hawaiian translation is Hokulea. The team had just about everything they needed. They had their crew, they had their ship, they had a clear mission, but they were still missing something. They were missing the ancient knowledge that was necessary for this expedition. None of them knew these ancient techniques of celestial navigation. It was just a lost tradition. However, in the small island of Satawa, located in Micronesia, there were 6 navigators who had obtained mastery of celestial navigation. These were the only known master navigators left on Earth, but only one of them was willing to help the Hawaiian crew with their expedition. His name was Pius Maopialok, a grand master of ancient navigation. A Peace Corps volunteer from Satawa introduced Mao to the men of the Polynesian Voyaging Society, and after hearing about their plans, Mao told the men, quote, "You have to do this."
I told him about the project, I could hardly finish talking, and he let go with a barrage of words. He said, you have to do this. Of course you have to do this. How can Polynesians live without sailing?
Look, I wasn't there, but I imagine Mau was thrilled about this idea. Americans, Polynesians coming together to revive the ancient traditions of celestial navigation. When I read this story, I think of Moana, hearing her story about her ancestors and running out of the cave screaming, "We were voyagers!"
He started teaching us how to lash the canoe, to start to learn the stars from him, and it was real different. So he would do this thing where we'd be sitting down, on the pier, put you over there, he'd put me over there, he'd put another person there, and he'd situate you, and he'd teach us a dance, and he'd sing. And we start to dance, and he'd tell us how to move. Well, what he was teaching us was how stars move relative to each other, and things as they rise and set, and things. And your motion, you are a star. And your motions depict the movement of the star.
So Mau agrees to help the men with their expedition and teach them how to navigate the ocean using only ancient techniques, right? Now, the choreography that we see the fishermen doing in Moana's vision of her ancestors, that has such historical accuracy as it relates to ancient navigation methods. Mau taught the crew of the Hokulea traditional dances. It was so much more than a ritual. These dances, the choreography that Mau taught the crew of the Hokulea, actually showed them how the stars move relative to each other. The dance motions, the body movements, the hand gestures, all of this aligned with and followed the movement of the stars. This is how ancient navigators maintained calibration and kept track of their position in the ocean. Even though Mau was a master navigator, he had never sailed this trip before from Hawaii to Tahiti, so this journey was going to be new to him. He was in unfamiliar waters. The winds, the stars, the wave currents, it's all going to be a little different. He's with a crew of Hawaiians he just met whom have never navigated before. These are his students now. It's going to be a new journey for him, and Mau even says himself that he's a little scared.
The
Hokulea sets sail from Honolulu on May 1st, 1976, and arrives in Tahiti a month later on June 4th. During that voyage, the crew just has trouble getting along. There's sailors there for scientific reasons, some are on the voyage strictly for cultural reasons. It turns into physical conflict and fighting. Mau just wasn't used to any of this. So the Hokulea makes landfall in Tahiti on June 4th. It's a successful voyage. The arrival was witnessed by over 17,000 Tahitians. The mayor, the governor were all there. There was a huge celebration. But Mau didn't really feel that the voyage was successful. He was disappointed in the way the crew behaved. He thought they were undisciplined. He was so upset with the crew that Mau vowed to never sail with the Hawaiians again. So he leaves his crew in Tahiti, he gets on a plane and heads home to Satawa. But the Hokulea still needs to sail back to Hawaii because this is supposed to be a round trip. But they don't have Mau anymore. They don't have their Grand Master Navigator, so the crew needs to rely on modern instruments and technology now to make it back to Hawaii. So it was disappointing for Mau. It's not what he envisioned. He felt the Pacific Islanders were forgetting tradition, just like Gramatala felt the same way about her own village. He wanted so badly to revive the ancient traditions of navigation, but it didn't happen the way he wanted. The Hokulea makes another expedition from Hawaii to Tahiti 2 years later in 1978. They don't have Maui this time, but they're going to try it on their own, and just 6 hours into the voyage, the Hokulea takes in too much water and capsizes, and the crew is stranded. Now the entire crew is lost at sea, clinging onto the overturned canoe, and as far as they know, there's no rescue coming. One of the crew members, Eddie Aiko, he volunteers to paddle out for help. Eddie was an experienced surfer. He was a lifeguard. He had saved dozens of lives throughout his career, so he was most suited for a mission like this. So Eddie paddles out all by himself to find help. 72 hours later, the crew was spotted by a Hawaiian Airlines pilot. The pilot called the Coast Guards for rescue, and the crew of the Hokulea was saved, thankfully. Eddie Aiko was never seen again after that. As we enter the film's second act, we see that Moana has ventured off into the open waters. She thinks she's alone, but she later discovers that the chicken, Hei, has accidentally stowed away on the boat. Hei is the village idiot. I mean, that's the official description given to him by Disney. But Hei is so much more than a comedic relief. Hei being on the boat was fate. It was necessary for tradition, so the voyage could be culturally authentic. When Pacific Islanders sailed on their voyages, they would bring chickens and pigs with them as a part of their ritual. They did the same thing on the Hokulea. Maui was a demigod in Maori mythology, a trickster who oversaw the wind and sea. He was known throughout Polynesia for his legendary stories. He was actually a thief in Maori mythology. It's said that he would steal fire from other gods, so what he said in the musical number, "You're Welcome," about stealing fire, that was pretty accurate. Maui goes on and on to Moana about how he's this big hero for humanity, but he's not exactly the big hero he thinks he is. But Moana sees that he wants to be a hero. Moana uses the cunning strategy of playing on Maui's self-interest. He's selfish, that's why he wants to be the big hero. He wants the notoriety, the glory. He wants to hear the roar of the crowd. Maui, 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 you're so amazing! I love the dynamic between the two in this scene, and we find out in this scene that just like Mau of Satawa, Maui is a master navigator. Just like Mau taught the Hawaiians wayfinding, Maui is going to teach Moana. He's going to pass down his knowledge of celestial navigation that has been long forgotten amongst the Pacific Islanders. After Moana's dream, they arrive at Tamatoa's island in search of Maui's hook. As they're climbing the mountain, they have a brief conversation. It's not very significant in the context of the film. They're just climbing the mountain for a minute or so. It's probably the most forgettable scene, but I actually find this to be the most powerful scene. Moana has faith that the ocean has gifted her with a mission, with a calling in life. Maui, on the other hand, is doubtful. He doesn't share Moana's faith. He starts questioning her faith in the ocean. He asks Moana, if the ocean is so smart, why didn't it just take the heart back to Te Fiti itself? And for a moment, Moana wonders. She was responding to Maui's other questions, but she has no response for this question. In that moment, you can see it in her eyes. She's doubting her faith a little, just for a moment. I think this can symbolize the inner struggle that one experiences with their own faith, in whatever it is. My own faith lies in Christianity, but I often find myself asking questions like this, like, if God is so good, why do I see so much suffering in the world? If God is so powerful, why doesn't he just cure cancer himself? Maybe for someone else it's Buddha or the universe. Maybe it's a philosophy that you have faith in. Maybe it's the voice inside your heart that Grammatala sings about. But I think just about every person on this earth who has faith in something, as Moana has faith in the ocean, finds themselves struggling with it, doubting that faith at times. As they reach the top of the mountain, Maui goes on to mock Moana. "You're the chosen one." And Moana's eyes widen up. You can see a little worry in her eyes. Now, I think in that moment, Moana isn't doubting her faith anymore. I think Moana has come to terms that she is the chosen one. The ocean chose her for this task. She has faith, but that can be a little scary for her because she knows what's at stake. She needs to ensure the survival of her family, of her village. And I think anybody can be the chosen one in their own life. I mean, you were the chosen one to be a parent for your kids. You were the chosen one to be a teacher for your students. You were the chosen one to give food to those who need it. You were the chosen one to treat this patient. You were the chosen one to be a big brother or a big sister or a friend or a lover. You can be the chosen one to tend to your kittens. All of that can be a bit scary at times. What if you make a mistake? What if you slip up? What if something goes wrong? All of which you know is inevitable. You will make a mistake. You will slip up. Something will go wrong. It's a little scary being the chosen one, but I think anybody can be the chosen one in the journey of their own life. That's why this short, forgettable scene of Maui and Moana climbing the mountain, it's so powerful to me. It makes me ponder my own faith and my own purpose in life. In Act 2, we find Maui opening up to Moana for the first time, and we learn the true reason of why he wants so badly to be a hero. He just wants to be loved. His parents abandoned him, so the gods gifted him with powers. He used his powers to provide resources for the humans. It was never enough, so he stole the sacred heart of Te Piti so he could deliver that to the humans so they'd have unlimited resources. Also, they would love him. Remember Moana's most powerful gift? It's not her communion with the ocean, it's her empathy. And we can see Moana's gift on full display in this scene. She sees how sad Maui is. She feels how sad Maui is. Maui doesn't even say that he did what he did because he wanted to be loved. Moana just empathizes with Maui, and she understands that this is a man whom, despite his bravado, his ego, his tough guy act, he just wants to be loved. And I believe in this moment, Moana loves Maui. She doesn't say it, but I know this is the point where Moana realizes she loves Maui. She encourages him, shows Maui that he is worthy of being loved. And for the first time in his life, for the first time, Maui has someone who genuinely loves him. He has a friend, Moana. The members of the crew feel they need to honor Auli'I by continuing the Hokulea's work, but they still don't have Mau. They can't do this without Mau, so Nainoa Thompson hops on a plane to Satawa. He meets up with Mau and pleads with him for his help.
Comment and the question was, Mau, we don't really need you to navigate and find Tahiti for us. You need to help us find it for ourselves.
Nainoa come see me in Saipan. He told me, you come back to Hawaii. We like to learn from you about the navigator.
At the same time, Mau knows the story of Eddie. He feels bad about it. He also feels that his work is unfinished. He really wants to see the revival of ancient navigation done right. He doesn't want the art of navigation to be forgotten, so what does Mau do? He accepts Nainoa's invite. Mau agrees to return to Hawaii to finish his work on the Hokulea. After their first battle with Taka ends in defeat, Moana and Maui are throwing blame at each other. Moana firmly believes that the ocean chose her. She hasn't given up. She tries to strategize a new plan of attack, but she can't do this without Maui. Maui is ready to call it quits. Moana pleads with Maui. She's so vulnerable in this scene. I think this is where Moana is most vulnerable emotionally, and Maui just denies her completely, shuts down her hopes, tells her that the ocean was wrong in choosing her, and just leaves her. This hurts Moana, so she turns to the ocean, but she puts her defenses back up. She's just been rejected by Maui. She's not about to be rejected by the ocean. Moana was vulnerable with Maui, and Maui left her, so she's not going to be vulnerable with the ocean. Instead, she tells the ocean that she's not the right person, and the ocean has to choose someone else. She rejects the ocean as a defense mechanism. The ocean listens and takes the Sacred Heart, and immediately, Moana breaks down crying and says, "No." This is a defense mechanism that we as humans often put up when we're afraid of being vulnerable. We're afraid of rejection, so in response, we do the rejecting because that's safer. But it's not really what we want. You know, you ever tell somebody, "Leave me alone, I just want to be left alone." But inside you're begging them to stay. Inside, you're begging that they won't listen to you. And when they do end up leaving you alone, it destroys you inside. Because the truth is, you really wanted that person to stay, to reassure you, to comfort you. You just didn't want to come out and say it because that would make you vulnerable. Moana is telling the ocean, "I'm not the right person, choose someone else." But inside, Moana is begging that the ocean will stay and reassure her. Moana is hoping that the ocean will stay and fight for her, but it doesn't, and this breaks Moana. Grammatala reappears as a spirit. She gives Moana a way out. She tells Moana, "Hey, you don't have to go through with this if you don't want to. It's okay if you want to go home. I'll be with you." Moana hesitates though. Grammatala asks her, "Why do you hesitate?" Moana replies, "I don't know." But deep in her heart, she does know. She wants to finish her mission. She wants to save her family. She wants to save the world. Moana wants to be a hero for her family, for Grammatala, and for herself. She was just looking for outside assurance, whether it be from Maui, from the ocean, or Grammatala. But at this point, Maui has left her, the ocean won't stay and fight for her, and Grammatala has given her approval to go home. Moana hesitates, and Grammatala reminds Moana of the voice inside her. She doesn't tell Moana to finish her mission or anything like that. She just asks Moana, "Do you know who you are?" And that's all Moana needs. She needs to follow the voice in her heart, and she realizes that now. She doesn't need the ocean to choose her. She doesn't need Maui to choose her. She doesn't even need Grammatala to choose her. Moana has found validation from within. And with the unwavering support of her grandma, Moana has chosen herself. She has decided that she is the chosen one. She dives into the ocean on her own accord, on her own terms, and retrieves the Sacred Heart to carry out her life's task. And this concludes the end of Act 2. We enter the film's final act. Just as Mau returned to Hawaii to finish his work on the Hokulea, Maui returns to aid Moana in her final bout against Taka. Hey, when you have unfinished business somewhere in life, you're gonna find your way back to it one way or another. Moana realizes that Taka is actually Te Fiti. She returns her Sacred Heart to its rightful place, and Taka transforms back to her true self, the kind, gentle, life-giving island of Te Fiti. The Hokulea set sail again in 1980 on the same route from Hawaii to Tahiti. This time, Mau felt that the voyage was a cultural success.
The first trip is a little bit problem, but I don't know. Me, I think the first try the sail in a ocean, somebody's scared and make it a little bit crazy, but not too much. This trip is everything good. No problem.
Good sail.
Yeah, oh yeah, good.
The Hokulea would continue over several decades to make voyages throughout the Pacific, and even sailed as far as Yokohama, Japan in 2007. The success of the Hokulea started a cultural renaissance throughout the Pacific. It inspired the revival of other cultural traditions in dance, music, teachings of history. This was the modern-day, real-life version of Moana's journey across the Pacific, and it's even more profound that Te Fiti was named after Tahiti. Maui bestows the title of Master Wayfinder to Moana, and get this, in Micronesia the term Puo is the highest honor given to a navigator. It means Master Wayfinder, and on March 18th, 2007, Mau granted the title of Puo to 16 navigators. 11 were Micronesian and the other 5 were Hawaiian, including Nainoa Thompson. Moana returns home to Motunui, and as the Hokulea's journey revived Pacific Island traditions, Moana's journey has revived the voyaging traditions of her ancestors. Eddie Aikau's memory has been honored at the Big Wave Surfing Invitational in Hawaii since 1984. ESPN released a 30 for 30 documentary in 2013 titled Hawaiian, The Legend of Eddie Aikau. The phrase, Eddie would go, became popular throughout Hawaiian culture. Pais Mau Pialog was awarded an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters in 1987 by the University of Hawaii. After his battle with diabetes, he died on July 12th in 2010 on his home island of Satawa. Known as Papa Mau by his friends, his legacy as a master wayfinder is immortalized throughout Oceania and Pacific Island culture. Nainoa Thompson and the rest of the Polynesian Voyaging Society continue to voyage the Pacific waters and beyond to this day, keeping the sacred art of navigation alive and passing Mau's teachings down to the next generations of wayfinders. Thompson gave an address at the Hokulea Homecoming in Hawaii in June 2017.
Scary proposition, but what is more dangerous? The hurricane or the pirate, or staying tied to the dock because you don't believe you can go? And that your whole essence becomes ignorant, apathetic, and inactive.
Just like the ocean, life is chaotic. It's unpredictable, it's dangerous, it's a little scary. Also like the ocean, life is delicious. It's rich with ripples of poetry. It's deep, it's romantic. You will go on many journeys in your lifetime, some more daring than others. Whatever journey you're on in life, whatever voyage you're thinking about going on, I just want you to know that it needs to be done. As Mau said, you have to do this. If you feel a profound connection to it, to that journey, then you need to be on it, or you need to go on it if you're still thinking about it. Because as painful and as heartbreaking as it is, you owe it to yourself to see what's out there, to find what's within. I'm not talking about a physical journey with long distance. You don't need to sail across the ocean. You don't need to drive across the country. This journey that I'm talking about happens entirely within. You can physically stay in one place, that's fine, but still, go on your own journey, just as daring as Moana's, just as bold as Mau's, just as enchanting as my own. Because this journey happens entirely within yourself. And Moana even says it. It's not out there in the ocean, the calling. The journey happens within. Moana sings, the calling isn't out there at all. It's inside me. It's like the tide, always falling and rising. So, whether it's in the form of a new job, a new school, a new business, a new art piece, taking an exam, an audition, a new relationship, it can even be a new recipe. Whatever that journey is for you, if you feel a strong connection to it and it's calling you, you need to reach back, because life is so short. We take it for granted, we forget how short it actually is, but it's so short and you might not get another chance. So fight through the doubt, the heartbreak, the mistakes, the lows. Be a little vulnerable with yourself, with your relationships. I dare you to put your heart out there and embark on your own journey of self-exploration. Making this documentary has been a journey of its own, and I sincerely wish you strong winds in your own journeys in life. This journey, Moana Reimagined, this journey has come to an end, and I'd like to conclude by sharing a journey of my own, and I hope this helps with your own journey. I made my own journey to Los Angeles. I moved out here from Jacksonville, Florida last year. I drove over 2,000 miles across the country and moved out here to LA, all on a whim, all because a voice inside my heart told me I had to, and I listened. There was no job, no school, no plan, no family out here waiting on me. I just got up one day and left. I think this journey was a gift. I think it's a gift from God. The people I've met here, the ideas I've found here, all of that is a gift. God, the universe, gave me a gift. That's a little scary. What if I screw it up? What if I can't live up to the responsibilities of that gift? Yeah, that's a little scary. And it's beautiful. The beautiful gift of this journey. Yeah, I'll probably screw it up. I'll probably miss opportunities. I'll make mistakes because I'm human. But what if I don't screw it up completely? I'll never be perfect, but what if I get some things right? What if I can get the important things? Compassion, empathy, ambition, charity, love, family. What if I can get some of those things right?